Welcome back to Radical and Relevant. Today's reading is from the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 24 through 29. Now Thomas, one of the 12, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came and stood among them. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and place my finger in the mark of the nails, and place my hand in his side, I will not believe." 8 days later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. The doors were shut, but Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your fingers here and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not be faithless, but believe." And Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." And Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." Is there a word or phrase or an idea that jumps out at you? The phrase that jumps out at me is Thomas's reply, "My Lord and my God." I don't know who taught me this, but when I was a child, below the tabernacle in the parish we went to our whole lives, was engraved in the stone this phrase, "My Lord and my God." And somewhere along the way, as a child, I was taught, to say this phrase prayerfully when I genuflected. So when I went into church, genuflected. When I was leaving church, genuflected. Crossing the church, genuflected. Every single time was taught to say this, more than say this phrase, to pray this phrase, "My Lord and my God," to recognize that the true presence, that God was present in the tabernacle, in the Eucharist. And so it's impossible for me to hear this reading, and not think of that. It's a very powerful lesson in my life, and it indicates how powerful small things can be. I know so many parents and grandparents who struggle and even suffer because their children or their grandchildren don't go to church, or they don't know how to teach their children or their grandchildren about the faith. And that can be overwhelming, right? Okay, how do I teach someone about the faith? That's overwhelming. But to be mindful that these little things, you can teach your grandchildren, these little things can have an enormous impact on their lives. So don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Look for these small ways to increase your faith and to share the faith with other people. Have an amazing day, and remember, be bold, be Catholic,